Morning, guys. Today, Conor McGregor shares with us another piece of advice for us to remember in everything we do, and that is think outside the box. Conor McGregor shares with us his experience when he was in the gym, training, looking for the right coach, the right mentor to help him with his fighting style. And he recalls in his life being frustrated because every gym he went to, they would want him to do a punch a certain way, a kick a certain way, and try to fit into a certain style. And this, he knew deep down inside, wasn't the way of a human being. He knew for himself, like everyone else, that we have our own unique style and that everything leads to that unique style. So when he found a coach that encouraged him to do different things and to do different movements, he knew that he had found his place. So remember, you got to think outside the box. Think about where you can apply that today, wherever you are. Have a great morning, everyone.
Winning is not supposed to be fair. Life is not fair. There's nothing that's going to guarantee you that win. But the only thing that's going to guarantee you that loss is if you don't get in this race. How many people, and you talk about this all the time, about the fears and the emotions and just just going for it, just like here it is. Look at yourself. You've moved 3 different times in probably the last 6 months for whatever reasons you've had, all right? And you've literally packed up and moved, like here I'm going, here I'm going, here. You got people that won't move themselves out of a chair, and you've literally moved families, lives, right? And there's literally a fear behind every single one of those, but there's no doubt.
The biggest difference between you and the people who you look up to are that they started and you're still thinking about it. It's one of the most frustrating things in helping entrepreneurs that I deal with on a day-to-day basis is that seeing so much potential in people, seeing so much heart and love and care. It's like you could be serving so much and helping so much and having such a big impact. And we're stuck. We're stuck. And this was me too. I was stuck. It took me forever to get started. And I thought I had to have the perfect cameraman. My first video, if you go back and watch it on my channel, I had my friend come and film it and record it for me because I was worried about it not being perfect enough, that I didn't know the gear and didn't know the microphone and the lighting and the setup. And I memorized the script because I didn't want to say the wrong words. I had to be perfect. Most of my early videos were still mostly voiceover, because I could write a script and have it perfect and just have B-roll, and it wouldn't be me on camera afraid of making a mistake and saying the wrong things and messing up. And that's one of the main reasons why it took me so long to grow. You know, if you look at my journey of making, for 5 years, 7,000 subscribers, something like that, I was stuck. I was too afraid to do the next thing. I was too afraid to get in the race. I was making content, at least. That was one decent thing. For whatever reason, I stay consistent on doing stuff, but I was afraid to take the next step, the big step, to go off and do it. And a lot of you are already way better than I was when I started. And when I'm on interviews and I'm doing events and presentations, and I see the audience and I see who's there and I see the skill and the heart, this is the thing that kills me the most. It's like the heart. It's like you've got such a good heart. You want to do so much. And then there's just no action. There's no momentum because of the fear. If you could make one change this year that would really move the needle, it would be to stop judging yourself for the content that you're making or the product you're putting out or the service, and just expect it to suck and keep going. So when people ask me, should I do this business or this business? Should I do that business or this one? It's like, well, I don't know. You know, like at the end of the day, it's gonna be what you love doing. All of them could work. Every business model can work and has worked. It's what's gonna be the right one for you. And you won't know until you get out there and start doing it, right? It's like, how do you know what your favorite food is until you get out there and do it? How do you know if you like coffee or not? You know, you have to go off and you take a sip and then you find out. You can't think your way through this. So you can't think your way. You can have some planning, but the planning won't save you. At the end of the day, you have to go off and just do something about it. And in the doing, you'll figure out what makes you come alive and keep going. So let's make it practical. Like, let's give you some steps for how to actually get in the race and start taking some action. Step 1, understand, or at least tell yourself that great ideas flow through you. Great ideas flow through you. That because you came up with the idea, that it's a good idea. Stop judging it. Stop telling yourself you suck. Stop telling yourself someone like you can't do it. That great ideas flow through you. This is a good idea. You need to go do something about it. Right? Even just telling yourself that shortcuts the fear, because all of the reasons in your head for why you can't do it is really just fear. If you're thinking about making content and you're worried about the microphone and the camera and the gear and all that, that's just fear talking. It's just you're afraid that it won't be good. And so you're trying to cover your bases, and we come up with all these logical reasons why we can't do it, but really it's just fear talking. So cut through the fear by telling yourself that great ideas flow through you, that you don't want to be sitting here 3 years later still stuck in the same spot, right? What's the difference? Well, how much action you took over those 3 years. And most of us are stuck in inaction because we're paralyzed by fear, and we've come up with rational reasons why we can't do the thing. So 1, great ideas flow through you. Trust them and do something about them. 2, apply what I call the 2% difference. And so most of the time, what's the first thing we do when we come up with an idea? When you come up with an idea, you think it's a great idea, you're going to start a channel, you're going to write a book, you're going to create this product, service, company, whatever. You come up with a great idea. The first thing we do is usually planning, right? Plan. I need to plan. Here's what my perfect world looks like. I'm going to plan all the way out. And what ends up happening is you spend your best energy planning. The first step, in my opinion, should not be planning. The first step should be some kind of imperfect action. Because what ends up happening is you get all this energy and motivation, and you feel like you're unstoppable and you can do it. This is such a great idea. And then you start spending your time planning and researching. What ends up happening is you wake up the next day and the next day, and your energy and your belief starts to drop. It's like, oh, what was I thinking? I can't do that. Who am I to do that? The doubts and insecurities and the fears all start to pop in. And so you stop. And nothing ends up happening besides a list of ideas and your planning and research. But that doesn't get you paid. That doesn't get the service out there. It doesn't actually help anybody. And so planning is important. It just shouldn't be the first step. The first step should be some kind of imperfect action. Just start doing something, anything. You want to make a YouTube channel? Great, pull out your phone and make a video. What do you see on the video? It doesn't matter. Just speak from the heart. Like, hey, I want to start a YouTube channel. I've been thinking about doing this for a bunch of years, and I've always been too afraid. And now I've decided that I'm going to go off and do it. And I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to do my best, and hopefully you'll support me. All right, see you soon. Post. There's your video. Was it great? No. But it's everything because you started doing something. You think about a fitness plan that people are going on. What do people normally do on a fitness plan? Well, you're researching. Do I do CrossFit? Do I do weights? Do I do cardio? Do I do Zumba? Do I do salsa dancing? And you're so caught up. We all get this. We all get so caught up in what the perfect plan is that we never actually do anything. Where the best thing you can do is go and do 10 push-ups right now, or 5, or 2, or however many you can do. Are those 2 push-ups going to make any difference for the long-term health? No. I mean, no, you're not building muscle from 2 push-ups, obviously, but the act of momentum is the thing that matters, because in doing the 2 push-ups, maybe tomorrow you do 4, the next day you do 6, the next day you do 8, and you're starting to build the habit of somebody who does push-ups that then can lead you to do more research to find out, oh, I was doing the push-ups all wrong. Here's a better way to do it. Oh, I should be doing this instead. You'll learn as you go. And the research and the plan is important. It just can't be the first step. So step 1, again, is expect that great ideas flow through you. That idea that came to you is good, is worthy, you should do it. You should at least try it. Step number 2 is 2% difference. What that means is don't plan to get to 100%. Focus on the first 2%. Most of us will plan to figure out what the 100% looks like. You won't know. What's the first 2% that you can take action on right now? And just go do it. And then step 3 is just expect to suck at the beginning. We don't expect to be great at the start, but we expect to be good. We expect to be at least average at the start of whatever we do. we never think it's going to be easy. I mean, some people do, I guess, but for the most part, you don't think whatever you're getting into is going to be easy, but you don't expect it to be as hard as it is, and you don't expect it to be as bad as you are at the thing. And it doesn't mean that you're bad as a human, it just means that you're bad at the skill. And so how do you get skills? Well, by practicing, by doing it, by training, right? And so you're going to be way worse than you thought you would be at the beginning. That's okay. You just don't have the skill yet. So I go into any new thing expecting to suck. Just completely expect to suck. Expect it to be a total failure. And if it's not, then great. And every day you get up and you do it again, you'll be a little bit better and you'll suck a little bit less because you're developing the skills. You can get really, really good at something if you have passion, energy, and you're pouring time into actually improving at it, where most people will just make one thing, see how much it sucks, and then never go back to it. So just expect it to be terrible at the beginning. Don't worry so much about how much of a failure that first one was, and then you keep going. You make another one tomorrow, and another one tomorrow, and another one tomorrow, and you will get better. If you follow that process, this is how you actually start becoming the person who you want to be. You start getting the results and the impact that you want to have. You've got the heart and the talent and the abilities and the care. The difference is just there's no momentum, or there's not enough momentum for what you're capable of. And so if you follow those 3 steps, right? Great ideas flow through you, believe it. Follow the 2% difference. Instead of planning, researching, do something, immediate action. And then 3, expect to suck and keep going. You get that momentum you need to start changing your life. Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Good afternoon, guys. Thinking outside the box is so challenging for us because for most of us, we are pretty much designed, have an environment that's designed as if it was a box for us. And the one thing that's helped me, and I want you to remember this, is that you are unlimited through the power of your mind. You have to remember that there is nothing about you that is intended to be contained in a box. Now, you may have to accept certain conditions the way they are right now, but I want you to remember your most incredible power. It's your belief in yourself, and then it's your determination, your choice to never give up on remembering your unlimited potential. And every moment you have, every experience you have right now where you are, remember, you're the one that has to tap into that unlimited power. And you can. Believe it and never give up on it. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
I want you to stop dreaming, and I want you to just start doing small things. I want you to go back to curiosity and less into crushing your big goals. The thing about life and business and success is that you have to be willing to start. And for people that procrastinate, starting is the hardest part. For people that worry, for people that think too big, starting is the hardest part. Folks that study procrastination talk about the fact that the only way to beat procrastination is to create what they call a starting ritual, which is a way to push yourself to get started. Because all the research shows that if we can push you to get started on something, you'll likely keep going. The only solution is micro action. That's it. I don't want to hear about your big goals. In fact, for everybody out there, I don't want to hear about your dreams and your goals until you're actually taking the actions every day for a couple weeks straight. You don't get to talk about your dreams until you can prove that you wake up and every single damn day you push yourself to take one small action forward. If you can do that consistently for a month, then you can start talking about your dreams. Then you can start talking about how you make money at it. Then you can start talking about how you build skill around it. But until you can actually get your ass out of bed and make the commitment to yourself to do the actions required to become a blogger, or to be a blogger, not become, to be a blogger, to be somebody that's in the restaurant business, you're just all talk. That's all I got to say on this.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn the 7 best habits to beat procrastination. Enjoy. Habit number 2, get rid of distractions with Robin Sharma.
Create distraction-free environments. Now, I want to share 2 things with you. I read recently Andre Agassi's fantastic book, Open. And in Open, he talks about the fact that when it comes to his tennis bag, no one touches it. And when he was asked, why can't anyone touch your tennis bag? He said, because when there's disorder in my tennis bag, there's distraction in my mind. Similarly, when there's disorder in your workplace, when there's disorder in your home, when there's disorder in your physical environments, when there's too much distraction, you will not be focused, you will procrastinate, and you will not get big things done. I guess what I'm suggesting to you is in your work environments, whatever those work environments are, if there's distraction, if there's Facebook notifications on, if there's mess, all of those things will allow you or encourage you to procrastinate. You'll check your Facebook feed, you'll check Twitter. If there's papers around, what you'll do is you'll start picking up the papers. What you want to do as much as possible, what I personally did that was really another game changer, was these distraction-free work environments. Even when you read the fantastic Walter Isaacson book, Steve Jobs, in here he talks about Next. That was the company he went to after he was thrown out of Apple. And one of the first things he did when he went to Next, he painted everything white. And they asked him, like, why is everything white? Why is everything so perfect? Why are there no distractions anywhere? There's nothing on the walls, even the manufacturing facilities, all white. He said, because I want to be able to think really clearly. I don't want to be distracted. I want to get my most important mission done.
Habit number 3, visualize and affirm with Brendon Burchard.
Visualize. Remember I said you won't do it if your brain can't see it step through? Well, here's specifically what I do to make sure I don't procrastinate. I literally visualize and affirm what I'm about to go do. So if it's Sunday and I say, okay, tomorrow in the afternoon, I've got all these things. I can procrastinate because I'm the only one holding myself accountable. And I could say, well, you know what? Let's see here. How would I avoid that? I will sit down and I'll do this 20, 30 minutes a day, visualizing the next day. Or that morning, I'll sit down and visualize the day and I'll just step it through. I'll say, okay, let me see myself going into the kitchen, getting my little green tea, going over to the office, sitting down at the computer, opening up that blank page, happily typing along, sensing and feeling those great emotions of doing my calling as a writer. Let me feel the power and the joy of finishing a great day of writing. Let me imagine myself going to dinner, getting to sit down with my wife and saying, honey, here's what I did today. I wrote this part of the book. Let me hear, see, and feel that interaction with her happiness and her joy that I'm doing my path. Let me imagine myself going to bed that night happy that, you know what? I did what I'm here to do. Now, I don't know what your calling is or what you feel like you should be doing, but for me, that simple little activity of just literally walking the entire day through, not just one thing. I do this with mega athletes all the time. I say, listen, I don't want you to just imagine the fight. I want you to visualize yourself on the way over to the arena. I want you to visualize yourself getting laced up. I want you to visualize yourself on the walk down to the ring. entering the ring, your first feelings walking around the ring, the sense that you will have as you're in that fight, that sense that you have when you're getting beaten in that fight, and how you're gonna feel and respond to that. Because visualization is not just happy-go-lucky, it's also like, okay, see yourself, what do you do when there's a struggle? So for me, okay, what do I do when I get writer's block? How does the Brendan dealing with writer's block deal with that? And I'll see it, I'll imagine myself getting back at it, and I'll see it through. How does it feel when you win? How does it feel after the win? How does it feel at the end of the day? How does it feel when you finally lay your head onto your pillow and go to bed? That is a full day visualization on the things that matter the most for your productivity.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Habit number 4, banish your ego with Ali Abdaal.
We need to banish the ego. Now, he said that once we've become a professional, the next thing we need to do is recognize the ongoing battle between the self and the ego. And the way I see this is that our ego is more focused on external events and how other people see us, whereas the self is this inner calm that we have, which is about the way that we see ourselves. When we're led by our ego, our main priority is to maintain the status of the I in the world, and we're just focused on how external events affect us, and everything is very superficial and surface level. Then we've got the self, which is made up of the individual and collective unconscious areas of our minds, which includes our dreams, intuition, visions, and aspirations. It encompasses the deepest form of who we are, and when we sit down to create, we're attempting to channel the self, because it's through the self that we can beat resistance. Now, some of this stuff is a little bit woo-woo for my liking, like Pressfield goes on about like how creative endeavors are like a new plane of existence, and we're all striving for that, you know, plane of existence, and resistance is like the devil that gets in the way. It can go a bit woo-woo at times. It's kind of similar to like the growth mindset and fixed mindset stuff in a way. When we have a fixed mindset and we get like negative feedback or something, or we do something that we know is not very good, it really shakes us to the core, because it like damages our ego. Whereas when we have a growth mindset to something, we recognize that if we fail at something, it's just part of the process of improving over time.
Habit number 5, get good at prioritizing with Tom Bilyeu.
The real key is you've got to learn to compartmentalize. So what I do to begin my compartmentalization is I create a list of all the important things that I should be working on. I put that list in order. This is very important. Getting good at prioritizing is an art form. It is critically important that you get good at that art form. And as you begin to break things down and put them in order, now you can tell yourself, hey, this is what I should be working on right now. So rather than trying to digest all the different things that have to be done, it's I'm focused on this one thing right now. And my only job right now is to focus on that thing. And so by not letting your mind wander, and this meditation is very good at bringing your focus back to the breath, which teaches you to bring your focus back to whatever. You can do everything that you want to do, just not all of it at once. So everything has to be done sequentially. You can't do everything at the same time. And this is why you have to prioritize things out. So if we know that multitasking is actually a myth, and that you can put people in brain scanners, and what you're seeing, people who seem like they can multitask, what they're doing is called rapid switching. So they don't have what I have, which is high switching costs. When I get in a flow, man, I can go and go and go. But if I try to bounce back and forth between things, then I pay this high price and inefficiency between the switching costs of moving from switching from that task to this task. So I focus, I stay on one thing, I have them in order, I know what I'm working on, I remind myself that I only have one job in that moment, that is to work on that thing. I know that that's the most efficient way to work, and I know that I'm good at prioritizing things, so it becomes very easy, boom, boom, boom. And then you just hold yourself accountable to actually doing that.
Habit number 6, plan better with Lisa Nichols.
There's so many things that you can't control. Procrastination is something that you can control. I used to be last minute, and I resisted. I gotta tell you, I resisted planning. I thought it was for slackers. I didn't need to plan. I can go off the fly, and I'm pretty creative. And I can get myself out of some pretty hairy situations, and I can produce pretty good content, pretty good experiences last minute. So I lived in the last minute conversation. I didn't even call it procrastination. It was just when it was scheduled to be done. So if I'm flying out at noon, I can pack at 7 in the morning. When I realized that I eliminated the space that I needed to do it in such a planned, methodical way that on the other side, I felt good about it. When you wait to the last minute to do anything, you've now taken the joy away that comes with having the space to do it in a timeline that's effective. That when I moved from procrastination to better planning, I felt the grace and ease and space in my life. I still had the same hours in the day. I just organized them differently. I just set better priorities, more effective priorities. That you're not supposed to enjoy the experience when you get there. You're supposed to enjoy the experience and the journey getting there. And when you move from procrastination to planning to time management, and time management is a fact. Time management has a direct impact on procrastination. If it matters to you, it should find its way in your calendar. It should find its way. When I'm going on a trip, I have pack in my calendar. I have it pack in my calendar 4 days before I'm leaving, so that if I run out of time and it takes me a whole day to get to packing, I'm still 3 days early. It took a long time to learn that. Procrastination is showing up for you last. Are you willing to show up for you first? Are you willing to trust if you can do a good job at the last minute? What can you do if you planned it out in a more effective way? What can you do? If you just live this next season on what could I do if I search for the best and brightest version of myself? Procrastination will be on the list of one of the things you modify to discover the best and brightest and most brilliant version of yourself.
And habit number 7, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is make a decision with Bob Proctor.
Napoleon Hill wrote an entire chapter in this book on the solution to procrastination. You know what it is? It's decision. Making a decision. You're not making a decision to do it. Listen to something he said here. He says, those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want, and they generally get it. The leaders in every walk of life decide quickly and firmly. That's a major reason why they're leaders. He said, the world is a habit of making room for the man or woman whose words and actions show that they know where they're going. I have told people in almost every seminar I go to, I have never made a decision for my kids. You say, well, you've got to make, no, I don't. Doesn't matter. When they were small, they'd come to me and they'd say, well, what do you think? What do you think? I provoke them to think of what to do. See, they know what the right thing is to do. It's a matter of not making a decision. Now start with little things. Little things you're putting off, do it. And do it right now. I know you've got other things, do it. You see, decision is so important. When you make a decision to do something, you flip your brain onto the frequency that you have to be on to do it. You don't have to know how to do it. You only have to know you're going to do it. And when you make the decision, you'll flip your brain onto the frequency that it has to operate on, and you'll attract everything you need to execute that decision. Now that may sound strange, but if you listen to this often enough, read the whole chapter in Think and Grow Rich on decision. Read it every day for a month. I guarantee it'll change your life. And it's how you overcome procrastination. You don't have to suffer from procrastination for another day. Make a decision.
I'll usually procrastinate for a few minutes, like 5 to 15 minutes of procrastination before videos. I don't warm up. So I look at my Espresso videos, especially because some of the videos are super easy. If I'm just saying like rule number 1, 2, 3, like I just need to make sure the lights are set up and the camera, those are easy to put together. Where I need to actually share my own message, I always want to outdo myself. So this week's videos have to be better than last week's videos and better than last week's videos. I may not do it, I may not achieve it, but it's always my intention. Like this has to be the best video I've ever made. And that pressure leads to procrastination 5 to 15 minutes before I'm about to shoot. I'll do stupid stuff. I'll like, I wonder what's on Facebook, or I wonder like who DM'd me, or like, and then I like, what am I doing? Come on, God damn it, let's go film, right? Yeah, I just don't let the procrastination be like a half a day or a week and then never do it. But it's if you're afraid of something, if you're procrastinating, either you don't like it and you should stop doing it, or you love it and you're afraid of it, right? So I'm afraid that it's not going to work, and so I'll procrastinate, right? So, but I'll catch it, and that happens every week, just for 5 to 15 minutes. Well, I'm thirsty, I should just get some drink, or like, oh, I haven't eaten anything, right? And then I'll film, but that's it. It's usually that moment, it's like, what am I doing? And then I get in front of the camera and I film.
So the intention is much more important than anything else before going into it.
Yeah, I mean, any art you want to make people feel, right? Like your art, you make people feel. His art with the drawing makes people feel. My art is making content. It's supposed to make people feel. It's always the intention of I want people to feel something by consuming anything that I'm creating. Again, I may not achieve it. Maybe you watch it and say, well, Evan sucked that day. Like, okay, great. I mean, I tried, right? So you can have the perfect words, but without the intent, it's not gonna land. Even if you're sitting down to write, when I'm writing my book, my intent is like I'm feeling the audience and I want them to get a result from reading this page. So better words come out because I'm thinking with intent for my audience, as opposed to what would be the perfect word that just sounds good, right?
Can you talk about procrastination? How do you get over that?
Recognizing that you're procrastinating, right? That's the hardest part, because you'll find really smart. Okay, great. So then are you afraid of it, or you just don't want to do it?
Well, let's say you're procrastinating over doing dishes. I don't think you're afraid of it.
So you just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But at some point you're going to want to do it, because otherwise the dishes will stack insanely high, and then you won't like going into your kitchen.
Right. So why? I'm trying to figure out how do I get to it before waiting to that moment where it's like, now I have to do it, like there's no other option.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if washing dishes is the biggest thing you're procrastinating over, then like,
That's just an example.
well, but like, so what's a bigger example where you either don't want to do it or you're afraid of it? Like, what are you actually procrastinating on?
Starting a website.
Okay, so you don't want to do it or you're afraid of it?
Neither. It's more just not knowing how to do it yet.
But that's just a cover, right? Like, that's just an excuse. You don't know how to do anything, what do? You go find it. You could have researched already and know how to start a website instead of being here tonight. Like, you could have already had the answer. How long have you been thinking about having a website?
Couple months.
You're a smart person. Like, you could have figured it out the next day. Maybe not all the answers, but you could have built momentum on it. So why are you not figuring out how to do it? Because everything is solvable, right? It's just a skill set.
Yeah, so that's what I'm asking you. Why am I not doing it?
Because you either don't want to do it or because you're afraid. So it's like, it's one of the two. Like, you either really don't want to have a website and you feel forced that you have to have this website and it's stupid and you'd rather not. Or you're afraid of launching a website, it's not going to be good and it's not going to be perfect and people are going to look at it and not buy your services and laugh at you and it's going to just be this giant, big waste of money.
I need to think a little bit more about that.
Well, that's okay. I mean, it's never a skill set issue because you can always learn. If you took the past 2 months or 3 months of thinking about it, you could have made your own website, let alone like hire somebody or partner with somebody or ask friends, hey, do you know anybody who can help with my website? So it's one, catching procrastination, because a lot of times we won't catch it. A lot of times we find a really smart reason. I can't do it because I'm busy, because I'm doing this, and I got all these other things, and blah, 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 blah. And you're a smart person, so you find really smart reasons why you can't do something, right? And not just you, me, everybody, right? But when you catch it, what's the reason? You either don't want to do it, and so move away. It's like people who, I get a lot of DMs from students who are in university who don't want to be there anymore, and they procrastinate on studying, and like, I never even wanted to join in the first place. Or you get locked into a business that you started that you liked at the beginning, but now you've bought yourself a job and don't like it anymore. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who like don't know how to move on from their business when it's time. They secretly stopped liking it 4 years ago and they're still doing it, right? But they stay in it out of other reasons, obligations, fear of what people will say about them if they leave. They haven't hit their financial success yet, whatever. And it doesn't mean you like abandon ship right away, but creating the path so that this isn't what you're doing every day. Or you're just afraid of launching it. What people will say, it won't work out, waste of money. Either way, the answer is action, right? Like it's don't do it and stop thinking about it, or do it and finish it. It's never stay in procrastination, right? So hopefully in 3 more months, it's not still the same issue for you where it's, I don't know what I want to do. You could have your website done in 3 months, easy. Or you could spend all that time thinking about it and put it somewhere else that could help your business grow, because maybe you don't need a website. You use Facebook as your website. And maybe you need to research just to get more information. But you could do that. Like this weekend, you could research everything about a website, and you could talk to friends. You can ask anybody, hey, do you know a website developer? And you can have the conversations next week to see if you should actually build a website or not. And if the answer is yes, then you can build momentum.
Good evening, guys. How did it go today? Were you able to think outside the box, even for a moment? Well, I want to share with you a personal example. And this says everything about us as human beings. I have the pleasure and good grace of working with children every day. And I can tell you, working with the younger ones, and this is how we all were, don't ever forget this, when they come into that gym, they are free, happy, and excited. There is no way that anyone is going to contain them in a box for long, because their spirit is free. It's unlimited. It has not been conditioned by life circumstances. And that is how we are. I want us to remember that. We are that kid still inside. And so to think outside the box, that is what you're supposed to do. That is what you're designed to do. So never forget that. Always try and think beyond where you are right now. Have a great evening, everyone.
Need motivation?
Watch your top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Jordan Peterson, and my take on his top 50 rules for success. Enjoy.
You're going to use what you think to guide your action, and the consequence of that is going to be how your life turns out. So I'm dead serious about what I write because I know what the pathway is. It's like you don't communicate in a false manner, because if you do, you will warp the structure that guides your actions, and you will absolutely 100% suffer for that. I mean, one of the things I've learned as a clinical psychologist is that I've never seen anyone, it's really a terrifying thing, I've never seen anyone get away with anything, ever. The chickens always come home to roost. So, and sometimes it might, let's say you get away with something, it's like, yeah, you think so, man. You wait 5 years from now, 7 years from now, it'll come back.
Is that karma?
It's more like, yes, I think it's the same idea, but it's more like you don't have the power to manipulate reality. Like you have the power to bring about reality in some sense, because you confront potential, and through your actions and your communicative intent, you turn potential into reality. But you don't have the power to bend reality without it snapping back at you.
You don't think so? So you don't think visionaries and influencers have the ability to bend reality?
No, I don't think they bend it. I think that I mean, you can bring new things into being, but you can't get away with a falsehood. No, you can definitely bring new things into being.
You can't get away with a falsehood.
Yes, that's it.
And okay, makes sense.
And you can't get away with weak thinking either, because, I mean, any more than you can get away with improper action. It just doesn't work. So you're contending, it's why, I mean, one of the themes in my writing is the danger of falsehood. And at every level, it's like, well, if you tell the truth to the degree that you can, or at least don't lie, I think that's rule 8, then you have reality on your side. You got to decide, man, you want reality on your side, or do you want reality against you? Now, I wouldn't recommend the whole reality against you thing, because you're not going to win. You're going to get flattened. And so I'm very careful with what I say, and I'm very careful with what I write. We are thrown challenges, and that in some sense those are best construed as tests of our ethical ability. So what Jung thought, his idea was something like this, that at the beginning of time people were unconscious, and that consciousness emerged with all of its catastrophes, consciousness of death, for example. And one way out of the burden of consciousness was to return to unconsciousness. You can do that with alcohol. You can do that by being dependent. You can do that by failing to grow up. You refuse the burden of consciousness by becoming unconscious again. But there's another way forward, which is to become even more conscious. So the idea would be a little bit of consciousness is like an illness. But if you can expand that consciousness upwards enough, then it starts to become something that is its own cure. And that partly what your goal is while you suffer through life is to heighten your consciousness to the point where everything gets integrated enough so that that's proper medication for the disease of self-consciousness. It's one thing to live properly, and that's not a trivial thing, but it's another thing to be able to articulate yourself and to be able to negotiate. And generally speaking, there's nothing about that that isn't advantageous. And even introverted and anxious people can learn to do that. You know, those are learnable skills. It's not easy, but you can manage it. You can also speak carefully, you know, and listen to what you're saying and only try to say things that you think are true. That's also unbelievably useful. You have to feel that out. Like, is this really what I believe, or am I putting it forward because I want to look good, or I want to dominate, or I want to express obliquely an emotion that I'm too cowardly to come out and confront directly, or am I being manipulative? There's lots of reasons that people use language, but what you really should use it for is to state what you believe to be true, and then to let the consequences of that unfold. And so that can also help you. Simple truths, bluntly stated, can be very powerful. You don't need a lot of verbal fluency under those circumstances if there's evidence of strength of character behind it. Look, it's good for you to go take your place in the world. Have some ambition, have a vision, have a goal, have a strategy. Try to be a good person, not because it's your duty precisely, because that's the proper way to live. We're in danger of undermining all of that, and it's not good for people. One of the things that I've really learned, for example, recently is that learned to articulate better, is that there's a very tight relationship between aspiration and responsibility. So let's say, well, the first question might be, do you need to aspire to something? And the answer is, well, yes, because you have to do something. If you just sit there, you'll die. You can't just sit there. You have to go act out in the world. Okay, so act towards what? Well, that's whatever your aspiration is. You have to have an aim. Okay, well, what should the aim be? Well, it should be something worth doing, let's say. Why do something that you don't feel is worth doing? What do you think's worth doing? Well, if you watch other people and you judge when they're doing something worthwhile, you usually judge them positively if you see that they're taking responsibility, at least for themselves. What, do you want to be completely useless so other people have to take care of you? That's pretty pathetic. And maybe you could get your act together so you're taking care of yourself and your family. And maybe you could even do better than that and take care of yourself and your family and your community.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
There's lots of ways of defying the crowd, let's say. I mean, you could live your life the way that you want to live it. That's a matter of action, you know, and they say actions speak louder than words. And one of the best things you could possibly be is an inspirational example. So that's not nothing. That's something. Live properly in your defiance of the crowd, right? Make your own course. allow yourself to be guided by your own genuine principles. You don't necessarily have to advertise that, which is in some sense what you're doing when you're debating, because you're taking the manner in which you act, like if you're an integrated person and you're articulating that. But maybe you can't do that because you don't have the verbal skills. Well, then the question would be, maybe you should develop some more verbal skills. I don't know this for sure, Dave, but generally it's useful. How do you do that? Doesn't hurt to read. Really doesn't hurt to write. A little bit of writing every day clarifies your thinking. You need a value hierarchy. It's inevitable that you have a value hierarchy and that you look at the world through it, and that it should be well structured, and that there should be something of divine importance at the top. I would say what should occupy the top position is the realization, for example, that each person is of divine value, and that the most appropriate way of interacting with potential is by embodying and speaking the truth. That's not a bad way of briefly conceptualizing what might be at the highest pinnacle of the value structure. I would say that's what the logos is. And so the soul is what manifests itself in the choice between different pathways, in the choice between different ways of transforming the potential of the future into the actuality of the present. And it does that by making ethical decisions, by choosing between good and evil at each choice point. And to the degree that it chooses good, then it takes the raw potential of the future and it transforms it into the being of the present that is good. And to the degree that it does that in a manner that's evil and contaminated by malevolence and hatred and vengefulness, then it takes a pathway that corrupts the world and makes things worse. And it's the soul that's doing that, and it's the soul that's responsible for that. And it's also that active part of the soul that's shaping the deeper soul in some sense, which would be something like the cumulative consequence of all those choices, something akin to what people more classically have referred to as character. Your life doesn't have meaning without aspiration or an aim. Okay, so you need a hierarchy of values. There's got to be something at the top. It's got to be something important. If you don't have that, your life doesn't have any meaning. So if you criticize the hierarchy, or even the idea of hierarchy, you destroy the idea of aspiration, and then people have nothing. Well, that's not helpful. People are built for a struggle, and they're built for a weight, and you want to take on a heavy burden voluntarily. See if you can put yourself together. See what you can do out in the world while you're waiting to die. It's an all-in game. It better be worthwhile. And so there's a tight relationship between responsibility and aspiration and hierarchy. And when you criticize those things, you get rid of the aspiration. You have to negotiate until you come to the best solution that can be negotiated, which isn't necessarily a perfect solution, but it might be the best one that can be done. And then you have to stick with it until the next negotiation. And if you get upset during the negotiations, which you likely will, because these are difficult topics, how to divide up responsibilities in the house, and people get mad because they feel they've been taken advantage of or aren't being listened to. One of the rules was, well, you can leave the discussion, but only until you calm down, and then you have to come back, because these things have to be pushed through. They have to be negotiated through, because the alternative is, well, important things don't get done, or people do them resentfully because they're sort of forced by their own orderliness or their own conscientiousness, or by force, psychological or otherwise, on the part of other people. These things have to be negotiated through. You can tell if you've got the balance between making peace and speaking the truth right if the conversation continues. And it can be emotional and will be, and can be difficult because important things have to be dealt with. But as long as the people are still in the conversation and communicating, then you've got the balance right. And you might have to take a break. Maybe you have to hold off till the next day. Maybe sometimes when you're negotiating something that's difficult, you have to offer the other person the opportunity to sleep on their decision too, which I think is often a very good idea. If you have to make an important decision in your life, it's very useful to tell the person that you're negotiating with that, look, I'm interested in this and it seems good, but I'm not going to agree until I sleep on it. It gives you, well, lots of things happen when you sleep. You organize your brain when you sleep, at least to the degree that you can organize it. And you can often be more solid or more doubtful about a decision if you sleep on it.
You need a meaning to sustain you through the vicissitudes of life. Okay, well, try to debate that. It's like, is life painful? Yes. Is it anxiety provoking? Yes. Is it uncertain? Yes. Is it painful beyond bearing sometimes? Yes. It's difficult. Everyone agrees about that. Now, they might disagree about how difficult, but that doesn't matter. That the central point holds. Okay, what if you think that's all pointless? Well, that doesn't seem very helpful. Okay, so you need a sustaining meaning. Well, where do you find that? Well, you generally find it in responsibility to yourself and to other people.
Something that I learned, for example, from Jean Piaget, he called that an equilibrated state. And an equilibrated state is like a game that everyone wants to play. And so if you set your household up properly, then it's a game that everybody is participating in voluntarily. And that's going to be predicated on the desire for peace and the willingness to speak truth and the ability to take responsibility. So that has to be part of your higher order moral aim. And then when you're having a difficult discussion with someone, the discussion is going to be affected by that higher order moral aim. It's not going to be contaminated to the same degree by your desire to inflict pain and attain victory and, you know, crush your opponent and punish them for their previous sins and indicate your disappointment in things they've done over the years and all of that. It's hard to say what the soul means metaphysically because, you know, say beyond the confines of a single human being, we do have this sense that the soul can expand itself into something that's greater than it has been. It has this capacity